So it's Halloween, right? And we're on this playground in the middle of the night. I'm 15. This is the first boy who has ever showed me that he liked me. This is the first boy who ever pursued me. And he leaned in. And then we kissed. Well, no, that's just the name of the podcast.
Julia and a guy sitting in a tree. Kissing.
Hello, and welcome back to And Then We Kissed, the podcast on the funny, the confusing, and the unforgettable stories behind my kiss list. I'm Julia, your host. Welcome back to season 2, and I'm sat here today with Flo.
I'm back as well. Back again, like Slim Shady, the real Slim Shady. It would have been...
Okay, you said something as well. Congrats. Flo's back.
I'm back.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh,
We're back.
I'm like very
Hell
glad
yeah.
that I'm back. So,
Yeah.
what are we going to talk today about? I don't even know.
So actually, it's a small miracle that Flo's back. He had to prove himself, and prove himself we did. And now he's back for a very special episode. You guys had heard in the first season all about my hoe phase. You had heard everything about me being a confident woman that knew what she wanted and how to get it. And I thought, well, maybe we should actually start now talking about baby Julia lore. Baby Julia lore, which is like how I learned how to date and fall in love and have sex, my first very steps when it came to this, because I was obviously not always the confident young woman that I am today.
Shocking news.
Shocking news.
The ultimate sex guide with Julia in the beginning. The first baby steps. No, wait, that kind of sounds wrong.
Well, so anyway, we're going to talk today about number one.
The number one.
First kiss, first boyfriend, first everything. Number one.
I haven't even heard anything about him yet.
No, you haven't. You don't know shit about him.
It is a man, right?
It is a man.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't know shit about him, actually.
No.
We haven't really talked about this a lot because this was also like way before your time and I was so young. But it is important to understand the basis of where I started from.
The origin story of your villain arc.
Yes, the origin story.
And now every man has to pay.
Because of him. No, that's actually second boyfriend. But we're going to get to that in a second in this season as well. Anyway, as always, a quick reminder, we're not here to make out anyone as the bad guy. There is really no right or wrong. There's only my side of the story and how I remember it. And so there's not really facts. He might tell the story very differently, and that's okay. Also, for this episode, it's really important that we're very kind because he was also very young. We're going to hear mistakes from both of our sides simply because we were very young creatures at the time. And so I think if we could all handle this situation with a bit more grace, that would be fantastic. Obviously, we're also changing details to protect the privacy of everyone involved.
It was your first, so does he already have like a nickname? Did you have it back then, nicknamed? Or is it just something completely new you came up with?
At the time, I did not have nicknames yet. I mean, this was the start of everything. And for that reason, we're calling him First Boyfriend, which is fine.
I mean, that's kind of boring. I thought there's going to be a really cool, funny name. But First Boyfriend is...
First Lover Boy?
Fun.
We can come up with one. First Lover Boy?
Lover Boy. I don't like the word Lover Boy.
Do you have a suggestion?
Not really. It's
okay, so you're here to criticize, but...
Yes, of course.
Really...
It's always,
okay.
There's like this SpongeBob episode with the number one, Smitherman Jensen. He was the first number one. But that's not even a good nickname.
No, it's not. Okay, I'm just gonna
okay, we're just
boyfriend.
gonna call him
first boyfriend then.
Okay,
fine. We'll do that. It'll be fine. Before we get in, Flo, what are you drinking? What's your fun little drink?
Today I'm drinking an orange soda spritz without any alcohol.
Oh.
Because
what happened to my drinking buddy?
I'm clean now, in a way.
No, you're
but
not.
But not really. But
you're not. I'm so taking you out later.
Taking care of my body. My body is a temple. So I choose not to drink any alcohol. But at least there's sugar in it. So it's some unhealthy compensation for that.
Okay. Well, you always said that you always go for the sugary drinks when you're on here. So
you can have some ASMR. No. That was way more difficult than it should have been.
Well, it's very loud. Does it smell good?
It smells very, very good.
I want to try as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like this. I like this a lot. If it had alcohol, it would be probably one of my favorite drinks.
Oh, imagine a vanilla vodka in that.
Please no.
Anyway,
The vanilla vodka is haunted.
Anyway, I've got a passion fruit lemonade. Flo, Sophie, and I were in our local supermarket together, and I, as always, didn't know what to get. And then they told me what to get, and it was a whole thing. We were walking around for ages. Let's try and open it. As always, I struggle with opening things, but oh well.
But do you also struggle with...
You ruined the ASMR. You talked over it.
It's not that important.
Oh, your ASMR is important, but mine isn't?
Yes.
This is just like the orgasm gap.
The orgasm gap. The orgasm gap in this podcast.
I'm going to fill this in.
You're going to have an ASMR moment when you're going to fill it up with your cup.
Are you going to shut up?
I'm going to shut up.
It smells very passion fruity.
That's even better ASMR with all the bubbles. You know, that's...
I like yours more.
Let me try. I like mine way more, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I like yours as well.
Yours is like so bad I don't even like want to switch.
And to think that this is the one that you wanted to drink originally, and
yeah,
then
I
said I wanted to drink it, and so you just switched.
I'm so happy we actually swapped before opening up the cans.
I'm okay with it. I don't think it's bad.
It's not terrible, but mine is just like so much better. You could still get the vanilla vodka. Then it is automatically a good drink. When
I already emptied it last weekend.
No, you're for real?
Yeah.
I thought it was still very full.
Yeah.
Like halfway or something.
Well, you thought wrong. Also, I know it was yours, but I emptied it. Okay, shall we just get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
First boyfriend, first kiss, first everything. I mean, my God, it's been ages since all of this happened, so it took me a hot minute to remember everything. Where to start? I think one of the first things to know about me during this time, about baby Julia, if you will, is I was raised by parents to believe that you don't give up on relationships easily. And that is still a trait that I very much is like in me, is very much installed in me. And I appreciate that. But that also led to this relationship lasting a lot longer than it should have. I can tell you that right now. It should have lasted months. It lasted years. The very first time that I met him, I was fairly young. I was your typical young teenager that was figuring life out. I had my issues with my friends, my family, whatnot. I felt very lonely. I was not lonely. I was surrounded by people, but I just felt very lonely. And I remember that I was one of the very last people in my friend group at the time to get into a relationship. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. My friends did or already had that experience. And I felt very left out. I was so curious. I was always a very sex curious person. So for me, being in a relationship signified that I would finally be able to see what sex was all about. At the time, I had no idea that you could have sex outside of relationships, to be quite honest. And I mean, being in a relationship, having a boyfriend, that was like a status thing. That was like, a boy likes you, you're worthy of something. It was a massive ego push that I needed at the time. Also, me and my friends, all we did was talk about boys, which, looking back, I'm not too happy with it. I understand why that happened because of the way, you know, media and everything trains you as young girls. But looking back, I find it a little sad, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I know that with my little sister, that did change. The media influence got a lot better with them than it was with us, but all we did was talk about boys. So when you don't have a boyfriend and all you're talking about is boys, and it feels like no boy likes you, that's a crushing feeling. I had so many crushes growing up, never felt like anyone liked me back. Realistically, there must have been a boy that liked me back. They just probably didn't tell me. I don't know, but nothing ever happened.
The delusion is strong in you. Believing.
I don't think it's delusion. I think I think realistically.
Realistically, yeah, kind of.
I think you always I think you always perceive the situation to be a lot worse when you're a teenager than it actually was, because I talked to a lot of girls that I perceived as extremely popular and like very like amongst boys at the time, and they never felt like they were popular with boys. So I think that your perception as a teenager is a lot less to do with reality.
Yeah, definitely. It's just in this kind of weird stage of life where you're just
Mm.
developing a lot of things and you have to make these experiences and have
Yeah.
to be less critical with yourself, I think. That at least it was for
Oh
me
yeah.
in
Yeah.
many cases. It's like when you kind of had this bad hair day back
Mm.
in like middle school
Mm.
and nobody did actually
Nobody
care or even
noticed.
notice if your hair was perfect or not.
Exactly. And so I think at the time that you have that
Yeah.
perception of yourself, and then looking back, you're kind of like, realistically, I think it must have been different. So realistically, I think boys liked me. Some did, but I just never really knew about it. My perception at the time was no boy ever liked me. So fast forward, there's this new boy at the dance classes that I was taking. We were this friend group taking dance classes, very popular thing. And we were there on a weekly basis, if anything, like maybe even more, maybe even like twice a week or so. So this was like a regular thing that I was going to. And there was a new boy there. And he was a little older than I was. Not too old that the age gap was weird, but like a little older. And
Mm.
he was not from Germany. He had just moved from another country to Germany, and he was very, very different than all of the boys that I had met. He did speak German fluently, but he did have some difficulties phrasing a couple of things. And I think looking back, that was something that I appreciated a lot, because I always struggled growing up growing up bilingual. I always struggled speaking one of the languages in a way that you would assume that I'm a mother tongue at the time, for certain. And I still have my issues with German, to be honest.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you still struggle sometimes with some words, but it's
Yeah.
completely fine and okay.
Yeah, but at the
Especially
time
when
it
you
didn't
like.
feel fine. I felt like I had a lot of judgmental people around me
Mm.
that were looking down at me for not speaking German properly. And here was this guy that I thought was cute and hot, and he also didn't speak German perfectly. And I felt I felt great.
Instantly connected in a way because
Yeah.
you had like similar struggles.
Exactly. I definitely didn't feel like judged by my own language skills by him. He came from a different cultural background. That did a lot with me, because I also grew up, you could say, international. Had a lot of like international influences from my parents. So for me, it was really great finding this guy that wasn't your typical German guy that had never seen anything except for our hometown, which is not a bad thing. It's just not somebody that I really know how to deal with. This is not the way I grew up, so there's not a lot of similarities that I have with guys like that. So I meet him in passing. He seems really cool. To me, he seems really cool. He seems somewhat popular, not massively popular, whatever. I think half a year or so went by. I kept seeing him, obviously, but I didn't have any contact with him. And then I turned 15. And a couple of weeks later, it was Halloween. And one of my best friends and I, we were bored, and we were hanging out at a playground together in the middle of the night, as you do when you're teenagers in Germany.
Yeah, because there's nothing else to do basically.
What else would you do? And she's like, I know this boy. I'm going to invite him. And it was him. And so he comes over and he hangs out with us. And he's this older, cool guy who's suddenly starting to flirt with me. Me, the ugly duckling who no one liked. That's what it felt like, right? Me, the girl that had no experiences with boys and must be destined to stay on the shelf forever, because that is how dramatic you think about these things when you're younger. And there's this boy that looks cool, that seems cool, he's popular enough, and he actually likes me. And having a boyfriend was such a status thing at the time. And for me, this was a godsend. This was relief. I was finally being chosen. And he was also choosing me over her. And I was a little insecure in our friendship with her, because she had multiple boyfriends at the time, like in succession.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
And she was, it felt like to me she knew how to flirt. And so I was very insecure. And it felt great that he was choosing me over her, which I don't think like that anymore, but at the time.
Yeah, definitely. You have this very competitive mindset, especially when like a teenager. You always want to be better than your peers and doing better than them. And especially those things like sex, first kiss, boyfriend, girlfriend,
That comparison
partner, the
insecurity is a
comparison,
thing.
because it is like you have so many insecurities, and it
Yeah.
just roots down to all of this basically.
Yeah, exactly. That comparison insecurity
Yeah.
is a thing for sure. So he's flirting with me, he's pursuing me, and he has also a very different way of flirting and pursuing and all of that than I knew from German boys. I mean, mind you, no shade against German boys, because Germany is not a country where you are taught how to flirt or interact with strangers. And then for sure not when you're like 15 and you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. So no shade, but I was not used to it, and I was very much enjoying the attention. So I'm nervous as hell, but I'm also enjoying the attention, and he leans in, and then we kissed.
Ooh.
And that was my first kiss ever. And I remember that we also made out, which is again such a teenage thing looking back, because I mean, we just left my girlfriend standing and just made out. But I guess okay.
And she's just like this standing emoji next to you.
Like this one.
Just and then like just watching you like making out next to her.
She might have been on her phone or so. I think smartphones were already kind of a thing at the time.
I hope so.
I mean, something like
for her. This must have been so weird.
But isn't it also just like a thing that you that you're used to at the time, that your friends run off and have their own experiences and you just kind of stand next to them? Because I think a lot of my friends encountered that with me and vice versa. I encountered it with them.
Well, true, but looking back, it still feels weird.
It still feels weird, but it's a teenage thing, so, I guess.
And then you two had the first kiss and you instantly got together.
No.
Or like,
no,
how did this went?
No, we did not. So we did not get together. So for me, it was my first kiss. For him, it wasn't. He had kissed other people before. He gave me his jacket. My friend and I went home back to my place. I think she stayed over. And I think him and I were in contact somehow at that point. I think we maybe exchanged numbers or so, and we did text. And I remember that a couple of days later, we did meet up and I went over to his place. But I also know nothing big happened. Maybe we made out, I don't remember, but nothing big happened, because here's the interesting part. We didn't get together for another year.
Wait, this is super surprising, actually.
I know.
Because when you're like a teenager and then you kiss someone and you kind of instantly become like their boy
oh my god,
you're
my boyfriend. No, that didn't happen.
You're so revolutionary.
I don't know. I to this day, I'm not quite sure why it didn't happen, because throughout that year we were in contact and it was almost like he was courting me, to be honest. It was very cute. He was doing very nice boy behavior. I was a big Directioner, massive Directioner.
Oh, wow.
And I remember that One Direction had brought out a music video and they were up for an award, and all of the Directioners were trying to consume their music video as much as possible so that they would win the award. And I, like, you know, when you go home after school and then you're on your computer, on your phone all day, or you're like Skyping. Skype was a huge thing at the time.
Yeah,
you were like Skyping or talking on your landline with your friends and everything. And so him and I did text a lot every day, probably on Facebook or so. And I remember telling him about this and he was like, send me the link, I'll watch it. And so he kept watching this music video over and over and over again, because it was important to me that my favorite band won the competition. I think that's so cute. I think it's so cute.
It is very cute. But looking back, why weren't you together back then when he already did so many things in a way to be nice to you? And it's kind of weird you didn't get together in the beginning, but then it's kind of even weirder that you just got together later on, like over a year later.
I don't know. I don't really remember seeing him around that dance thing as much, like our dance school. Obviously, I did see him and everything, but I don't really remember hanging out with him. What I mostly remember out of that year is us texting a lot. We did have a lot of similar friends, but we still didn't hang out as much. But I also think that it had to do with the fact that I was still growing up. I was only very slowly starting to go out. I also remember in that year I was having issues with family, issues with friends. And so maybe when you don't really know what a relationship looks like, you don't really know how to pursue it. I for sure did not know how to pursue it. And so maybe it just never happened. I don't know. My mom to this day likes to say that I need to be chased. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but we didn't get together. I remember him asking to hang out a couple of times, but it never worked out. I remember that in the summer holidays, so like 10 months later, I was on a big trip overseas and we were still texting nonstop all the time, maybe even talked on the phone a couple of times. And this was a boy that I liked and he liked me, but also we were friends, but also we were nothing. And I didn't think of him that much. And I don't know, it was a thing. But then fast forward, I come back from the holiday and we hang out more with a third friend of ours. And then we were hanging out at dance school. And then after dance school, at some point, the two of us went for a walk and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I was like, hell yeah. And then I remember we were together for maybe 30 minutes hanging out. And then I kind of breached the topic that I really hated the date and that the next day would be a much cuter date, and he agreed, and so we broke up again for 1 day and then officially got together the next day.
This is so teenage behavior. But it's looking back, it is very, very funny actually.
And also I really liked the day that we got together, and then we made it a big thing for the rest of our relationship that on that day of the month we would always find time for each other.
That is actually very cute.
It's cute. For like teenage stuff, it's cute.
I think even now, even though I don't really care that much about certain dates or something, I think that's still a cool idea.
It's cute,
to make time for each other at a certain
on like certain
time,
days.
on certain days, yeah.
I think time now passes a lot quicker, that nowadays I wouldn't care as much. I also just have so much to do that I would want more flexibility in that sense. But at the time when you had less to do, it felt like a big deal. It was a big deal. It was my first boyfriend. It is a big deal, yeah. I'm the eldest child of my family as well. So I was the first daughter to bring home a boyfriend as well.
Ooh, the pressure's on.
The pressure's, my parents are super chill. What did I care? But met my parents, all went well. Met his parents, all went well. We started hanging out. He was at my place. I was at his place. I remember for the longest time we were not allowed to spend the night at each other's place, because my parents didn't really know yet how they wanted to handle the situation. But so we weren't allowed to stay over at each other's place. I think they were scared that like something would happen to me or so. I remember out of revenge to them for that, I was so mad at them for that, he would stay at my place as long as possible on a weekend, and then maybe left my place at 11 or 12 p.m. And then the next morning I had to wake up early at around 7 to go walk the dog. And then immediately afterwards I went over to his place. And that was kind of like me showing up my parents, I guess. What do I know?
I mean, at least the dog got some steps and you got some steps in very early, and you could see your boyfriend at the time. So that's pretty good.
I guess so. One thing that I actually...
What a revenge.
Revenge. One thing that I do remember is that pretty quickly after him and I got together, I turned 16. And for the longest time, I had this fantasy in my head that when I turned 16, my boyfriend would give me a huge ass teddy bear. This fantasy crossed around in my head without me having a boyfriend, but I was adamant. And then I got a boyfriend a couple of weeks before I turned 16. And then my boyfriend got me a huge ass teddy bear.
Without you telling him?
No, I think I told him about it. And then he just ensured that it happened. And I mean, this thing already at the time cost like 100 euros. This is a big deal. He's like a young guy spent all of his pocket money on getting me this huge ass teddy bear, and then he walked all the way with our third friend, made sure that he brought it all the way back to my place. It's the one standing outside in the living room.
Oh, it is this one?
That's the teddy bear.
And you still have it?
And I still have it.
That's pretty cool. Can you remember the last guy who actually spent 100 euros on you this today?
Yeah.
You did?
Oak.
Oh, what's that much?
I think the first date that we went on, he spent 75.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Because we went to the bar together. And then the last date that we went on before I ended things, we went bowling. And we had dinner before, and it was this like private bowling thing in a room. Exactly. And so it was more expensive, and I'm pretty sure that it like ended up being around 100 euros. And I said like, dude, I can pay for my fair share. No, he paid it. But also that, okay, not that I don't appreciate that, because that was really lovely, but like 100 euros nowadays is worth a lot less than back then.
Yeah, it is, but I have never spent 100 euros on a date or anything. I can't even remember.
That sounds like you.
I can't actually remember gifting that much, but for like not someone I've just met.
I've had a couple of guys spend that much money on me, actually, which is really.
Where are these guys now? Can they spend so much money on me, please? Like, I'm doing everything.
Hey, if any guys are interested in being nice to Flo so they can get with me, it might work in your favor. Yeah, but so he was a very cute, kind boyfriend in that sense.
Yeah.
I think maybe 4 months or so into our relationship, we also had sex for the first time. So we did take our time with it. I remember talking to my parents about getting on birth control. Felt like a bigger deal than my parents made it, which I'm really grateful for. Because, I mean, okay, you guys have heard me. There must be liberal parents behind this upbringing. There's no way that I grew up conservative. There's no way. There's no way. My parents did try to raise me as shame-free as possible when it came to sex, and for that I really appreciate them.
We can tell.
So having sex for the first time just felt like I was allowed to do it in my own time, which was really nice. It was also his first time, and it was just cute and great making all of those first steps together and figuring it out. And having those awkward moments. I don't know, I felt more grown up, and I felt like I finally knew what everyone was talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can really relate to this scenario, because I think for most people it's the same.
Yeah.
When you get like your first partner, and then you just like kind of get to experience these things together first, and like you don't really have a lot of shame in these things, because neither of you really knows what's going on, what you're doing, and you're just like trying these things out together, and then you're like growing with it, and then you obviously feel more grown up afterwards. Yeah,
I felt like I was being let into a secret that society knew and I didn't, and I felt like, like Bridgerton, I was making my debut. That's what it felt like. I felt so grown up. I felt so cool. So everything just like went perfect basically, but where's the drama? Of course there's drama. It is you, so where's the drama? This sounds too good. Too much harmony. Exactly. Good question. So right off the bat, the very first thing that was difficult, I didn't really like him. I liked that he liked me. I didn't really like him. Because I was picking my boyfriend based on if he liked me, not if I liked him. Because it was a status thing for me at the time, right? And so, to a degree, he was cute, he was great, he was a really good accessory. But he's like a watch for you. Yeah. A nice, shiny, glimmering watch you can carry with you. Yeah, like I wanted that accessory, I wanted that status, and then I also wanted that physical touch, and outside of that, he wasn't that big of a deal to me. He was kind of there. He existed. Basically. And the thing that annoyed me the most is that he always had to be right, and he always made a discussion about everything. It didn't matter how important the topic was. It could be the most unimportant topic you've ever heard of. He would not stop making a discussion about it. And it was, to be quite honest, not based on logic, I think, because it didn't matter what I said. It literally felt like it did not matter what I say. He just wanted to be right, and he wanted, I don't know what he wanted, but I felt really mentally drained by all of the discussions. And in the beginning, I was extremely harmony focused, and I just tried to get the discussions out of the way. And then over time, I'm a very stubborn person, and it just annoyed the crap out of me. And so we always had these endless discussions, and it was so mentally draining. And he also was kind of someone who crossed a lot of boundaries and who just kind of did whatever he wanted. I remember one time we were hanging out during a break at dance school, and I was wearing these hoop earrings. And I remember him for some reason just pulling down the earring. And to this day, that earlobe is, not that earlobe, but that ear hole is longer than my other one.
It really?
Yeah. The left one, I can show you after.
Yeah,
but it's longer and it hurt. Or one time I was wearing a ponytail and he just ripped out the hair tie because he didn't want me running around in the hair tie.
Wait, that is actually very abusive, even for being teenagers.
Yeah, it is. Again, we were teenagers. I don't know how he is nowadays. Could not tell you, but for the time, definitely not good.
He is violent towards you. You are, that isn't good.
I mean, he also had very kind sides, and I am very tentative to say it's abusive or so, because
I feel you're still so young that you kind of just do mistakes because you're not really fully developed yet.
I think so too. And
if he was older, it would definitely be abusive, but
exactly.
I mean, it is kind of abusive.
Yeah, I still want to meet the situation, even looking back nowadays, with some grace, just because we were so young. And I feel weird calling it abuse, but I can definitely say that it wasn't good. And it was difficult for me because I wasn't aware if that was good or not. I could notice that he irritated me a lot and he annoyed me a lot. But I don't know how to explain this. I also don't know exactly where it came from. Patriarchy, maybe a certain way that I was raised or so, maybe everything together. But I was not raised to believe that my opinion counted in that way. And that if everyone else said that he was a good boyfriend, then he is a good boyfriend. You know, I didn't know what to expect from a relationship. I didn't know what to expect of him. But what I do remember is that I would keep trying to break up with him. We dated for years. I kept trying to break up with him. We had so many big fights. I would go back to him. I would have a talk with my dad, and my dad always tried to be very fair. He always tried to let me figure it out on my own, but he tried being there for me. And I would go back to him and I'd be like, I'm going to break up with you. And then he would persuade me to stay in the relationship. But I was like, we're so happy. We're still together. No.
I think that is kind of common in like the first relationships you have.
Probably.
Because you don't know what it should look like. And it's really hard to set boundaries and to accept boundaries, probably with your first partner.
And the hormones are racing.
And everything's just going
and
down
sex
and
is great.
south.
Even with how bad the sex was because you're a teenager. Sex is great.
Sex is great because
sex and physical touch.
Yeah, because sex, and you still feel very good and privileged. I feel like, because a lot of your peers don't have sex.
Yeah.
And you're in a relationship and you're having sex, so you're like automatically feeling kind of in an advantage towards them, better than them.
But also, I've always felt more regulated. My nervous system has always felt more regulated with physical touch. And so I think that was also kind of one of the big deals why I stayed with him. I've always been a habit girly. I kind of, even to this day, will not break it off as quickly as I maybe should, because I just really like the habit of knowing who it is and he knows me, and appreciating the physical touch because it calms my nervous system. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we stayed together. So this endless loop would continue. At some point, there was this thing where he was making a big deal out of not wanting to plan for the weekends. And this situation kept occurring where I kept not planning anything for the entire weekend just in case he wanted to see me, but he never wanted to give me any security, any planning, and he made me, or maybe I offered, I don't know. You know, I kind of revolved my life around him, and that went on for a couple of months and didn't really notice how draining it was, until one weekend where he was on a festival and it was well known that we would not be able to hang out, and I hung out with one of my closest friends and completely let loose, flirted with a guy, felt finally free. Freedom, baby. Finally gone off this annoying, irritating boyfriend. Went back to him after that weekend, and I was like, so I flirted with a guy. I just feel I feel like there's no freedom in this relationship. I feel like a bird in a cage. I'm pretty sure that I said that to him. And he was like, no, we can work on it. Like, we can try open concepts, something like that. And I was like, no, I need to break up with you. And then I actually did. I actually did break up with him.
Congrats to you for this.
And then a week later, another common friend of ours was throwing his birthday party, and both of us were there. And he persuaded me to be back in the relationship, and so we were back. I remember my dad picking me up, and my friend was already in the car because he had also picked her up. And I get into the car, and I'm like, I'm back with him. And they were like, okay.
Not congrats to you then.
They were like, okay, you go, girl, I guess.
I was a little bit fast on this
one. 1 week. Stuff kept happening between us. I simply did not care for him. It was also starting to become that time where you need to start making plans of what you're gonna do after school. And I was not thinking about him in my future. He was there in my day-to-day, but I was not thinking about him in my future. I was just making plans for whatever I wanted to do, independently of how that would affect us. And I think, honestly, looking back, I am so surprised by that. Because I remember a lot of girls around me were making their plans according to their boyfriends. And I think it's also a very common trait that young girls are raised to prioritize the relationship over their education, over their future plans and everything. And I think it's so surprising, especially because I did revolve my life around him to a certain degree. I think it's so surprising that I did that. Because also, you're going to hear about this in later episodes, there was another relationship where I did like revolve more of my life around him. So it's not like this isn't something that I've never done. I just didn't really do it with him. And I think that had to do with the fact that I didn't really like him.
But did he make plans around you?
No.
So you both were just like, yeah, when school ends and we have our degree, we're just gonna go separate ways?
I don't really...
Did it feel like it? Because you both weren't really actively planning with like the other person still in their life?
I don't think that he thought about the future as much as I did. So there's that. I think that I was more planning than he was. I think he was way more laissez-faire about it. And also I think that all of his future plans kind of involved staying in our hometown. Whereas a lot of my dreams and aspirations at the time included leaving. And I never considered not leaving because of him. Never crossed my mind. I also remember, except for that like couple of months where I was planning a lot of my weekends around him. I know that a friend of mine told me this. She would stay at my place, at my parents' place with me at least once a week because she lived further away. And so she was staying at my place. This was a thing. And apparently he didn't necessarily like that. And he wanted to spend those nights with me. And I was like, no, she's here. Fuck off. You're not here. Deal with it. Know your place. It must have to do with the fact that I didn't like him as much.
Probably.
I liked the physical touch, but I was okay
not having him around because
forever.
You weren't like that compatible, probably.
No, we were definitely not compatible. I think to some certain extent we understood each other. And I think he was also someone that was very adamant to be there for me because I was facing a lot of issues with family, friends, whatnot, teenager stuff. And he was very adamant to be there for me. And in some ways, he really was a great boyfriend. I have to say that. And then the other ways he wasn't, and we weren't very compatible. To be honest, I definitely didn't feel like that at the time. But I think looking back at the facts, I think he liked me more than I liked him. Because he was the one that didn't want the relationship to end. And he was the one that kept fighting for it. And I was the one that kept conceding because I was raised to believe that you shouldn't just throw a relationship over the board, whatever.
So how did things end in the end?
A couple of months continue.
How did you break up?
A couple of months go by again. At that point, I had been in therapy for 1.5 years with a new therapist. I come from a very therapy positive family, and so this was just a thing. My therapist had only known me with him. She never understood my issue with him. I kept trying to explain why he irritated me, why he annoyed me, what the hell. she never understood it until one day where I had a breakthrough, and maybe something in the way I phrased it finally made her understood how incredibly irritating he is and how draining it was to me to spend time with him. And she understood it. She actually understood it. And that was like a mirror moment, because that was a pro-adult version of humankind, right? Sitting in front of me, understanding my issues and understanding and reflecting back. And I felt so understood. And then it didn't just feel like my opinion, because again, remember, my opinion didn't matter as much. And so someone else finally got it and actually voiced the opinion, like, why are you with him? And then I was like, what am I doing with him? And I went home and I thought about it. And the next day, saw him at dance school. I was really weird towards him, but it was like a course. I couldn't really say anything towards him. And he was like, well, what's up with you? Like, do you want to break up? Like, he couldn't tell. And I was like, yeah. And then he said, okay, let's talk about it later. And so we went to a more public place later, talked about it. And the entire thing happened from the beginning, where he was like trying to persuade me, stay in the relationship, we can fight, I can change, whatnot. I was like, no, I'm done. I want to break up. And that was it. That was literally it. I remember a couple of months later, we were at a party and he tried wanting to start something casual with me. I was like, nope, not interested. The only thing that I missed after the breakup was the physical touch. I really missed cuddling with someone. And for me, it was also somewhat weird. Like, I kept still seeing him at dance school. We still had overlapping friendship circles. And that was weird to me. But we tried being very, like, kind towards each other, friendly acquaintances in that sense. So there wasn't a lot of drama. And I also, this was not the breakup. This was not the first breakup that hurt me. Not until my second relationship did I experience something that hurt me, because that for me was just like, okay, it's done. What's next? Cold bitch I was.
I don't know if you would say cold bitch. I think it just shows you that you really weren't that interested into his person, and that you probably didn't get as much out of the relationship. Probably, I think that's quite the point here.
Yeah, that's pretty much the point.
So
I just didn't care.
You just didn't care, and it was like too much draining.
Yeah.
Being and staying in this relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, you wanted to break up for so many times, so long ago, but you still stayed. And in the end, you didn't miss him, which makes completely sense, to be honest.
It's a relationship that should have only lasted a couple of months, and it went on for years. That's what it was at the end of the day. So looking back, there were a lot of good moments. I appreciated him for a lot of things, and I still appreciate a lot of things about him. What I find fascinating, what I didn't even realize until I started prepping for this episode, was really how long I knew him for. Because I met him ages before we got together, and I still knew him for quite some time after, because of the same circle stuff. And I kind of like the idea that I did grow up with him, even though I still have issues because of him to this day. People, men in sexual situations or romantic situations crossing my boundaries is a massive, massive trigger point. Even if it only seems like they could cross a boundary, I get really triggered by it, which is really unfortunate. But there were also really good moments, and what I appreciate about him is learning to be in a relationship and how much he was there for me with the issues that I had. So good and bad, but I feel very neutral towards him now.
You two still have contact? You're in contact?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Not for years, as I can kind of read in between the lines.
We never stayed friends. We were never friends. He was, again, still in like similar circles as I was, but it grew more distant after I finished school, and I kind of left the dance school, did my own things, and so I heard about him through friends and acquaintances. We're not in contact on any social media. I have not run into him, interestingly enough. I'm pretty sure that he's still in this hometown, and so am I. But it's okay. I don't need to. I also don't need to be in contact. We were just afterwards friendly acquaintances for the sake of the friend group.
For me personally, I had like a similar situation where I just wasn't than friends with that person. We
Mm.
were just like in a relationship, but afterwards we weren't friends, and before that we
Mm.
weren't friends.
Mm.
Just like friendly to each other.
Exactly.
Things just end, I guess, and it's nice when you just both can kind of accept this.
Yeah, exactly. I think now would be a good time for red flags.
For red flags, green flags.
Red flags, green flags. Red flags with him, boundary crossing as fuck, and the need to constantly be right.
Pretty much.
Red flags with me.
Red flags with you. You obviously did stay with him for even some time afterwards. Even you already knew you didn't like him in particular. So that is definitely a red flag. I think it's good not to instantly give up on things. But girl, like after the 20th time he actually did persuade you to stay with him, you should have just left way, way earlier.
Looking back, I think my 15-year-old self, I would tell her, completely understand where you're coming from, but also maybe try and find a boyfriend that you actually like.
Yeah, pretty much that. There aren't too many red flags, I'd say, because you both were just like very, very young and very unexperienced. I think you just have to learn these things.
It's also part of growing up, isn't it? Like, you have all of these ways of existing that seem functional with your parents, with your family, and then you kind of encounter a more intimate relationship for the first time, and you're kind of like, wait, this is not okay. And it takes a moment to get out of that. And I think it kind of depends on how dysfunctional you were raised, how dysfunctional your parents were. So I know that I made mistakes during that relationship where, looking back, I cringe at. And I think that's also why I want to give him grace, because like being so boundary crossing, it was not okay. I didn't deserve it. But I understand that if you have never experienced anything else, it's really difficult to do better in that moment.
So different to like all the other names we had so far.
The whole phase.
Where you could literally tell red flag, green flag. I think this is very, just comes down to two unexperienced people in their first relationship.
Exactly. Kiss, marry, kill.
Well,
difficult.
It's it's not difficult because the answer would be kill.
Yeah.
But
like not because I think badly of him.
But not because I'm thinking badly of him. It ended and there were reasons why it did end. And you didn't miss him, so the sex probably wasn't that good. So definitely not fuck, definitely not marry. So we have to choose kill here.
Fuck was not even an option, Flo. It's kiss, marry, kill. It's always been kiss, marry, kill.
Yeah, but kiss.
New segment.
No, but kissing means like also having sex.
Okay, not necessarily.
In a way, yeah, no, but I always thought it was like.
No, kiss just means kiss.
Oh, no, then still kill though.
Yeah, it's kill, but not because it's a kill, but rather because it's not kiss and not marry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conclusion.
Make sure that you like your first boyfriend. Honestly, my younger sister liked her first boyfriend. So I was already a full-on grown-up when she had her first boyfriend. And I remember hearing about it, looking back at it, and just being so in awe, because I was like, wait, you guys are actually friends. You actually like him. Like, you are so much further than I was at your age, because it never occurred to me. But yeah, just make sure you like your first boyfriend, or like, well, I mean, this isn't really an advice thing, but rather, please tell me I'm not alone with this in the comments. That I was the only one that just picked and chose a boyfriend.
To have someone.
As an accessory. It gets better. My next relationship got better. I did like him to a degree. We will talk about that in episode 9.
Yeah, it's just like it is.
It's part of that first relationship experience, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that was my take. Those were my thoughts on number 1. Wild stuff in the books. He is. Yeah. If you liked this, feel free to
like, comment, share, and drop your informations on your first relationship.
I mean, this is a man, so do as he tells you.
Yes, because my opinion does matter.
We love that good old privilege. Yeah, anyway, I will be back in 2 weeks. Sophie will be back for that one. And we're going to talk about the very first date that I ever had. Exciting. And until then, kiss someone that you actually like and report back with the details. Bye.
Bye.